The first thing that you should know about me is that I practice yoga. I don't consider myself a yogi necessarily for a couple of reasons primarily. One, it makes me think of the baseball great Yogi Berra, who once said, if you come to a fork in the road, you should take it. And if I don't think of him, I think of the equally famous Yogi Bear, who many times said, hey, boo-boo. But this is problematic because both of these things take me out of the moment. And if you know anything about yoga, it's very much about staying in the moment. You may also know that the particular demographic of yoga goers, especially in Middle Indiana, looks nothing like me. But that's okay. I know that going in. And in fact, I've had a lot of practice being the only person that does look like me, and well, for miles. I started playing golf when I was 2 years old, and currently I am one of a very, very small handful of African Americans playing Division I college golf. So I say all of that to say that a morning yoga class with 30 middle-aged white women, no problem. So, well, I guess I am a little bit daunted when I go. They're very good. I'm not at all. But I remain hopeful. I'm hopeful for a certain moment that I was afforded recently, actually. I arrived at class a couple minutes early, and I made my way to the back corner where I usually practice. And to my surprise, it was taken. There was a middle to late-aged white man sitting there, legs crossed, looking straight ahead. He looked like a fish out of water, and of course, I recognized this look. So I sat next to him, and within seconds, we were kind of sharing glances like fifth-grade crushes, and I said, hi, how are you? And beyond pleasantries, what we were really trying to say is, so good to see you. I didn't know if I was going to make it through, and I was wanting to say to him, look, we're in this together now, and whatever happens over the next 60 minutes, I'll be here for you, and if you go down, I'll go down with you. It's okay. Godspeed, my friend. And this is very curious because under any outside circumstance, upon first glance, he probably wouldn't want me to date his daughter, and upon first glance at him, I might not want to play a round of golf with him. But in this moment, we both are men in a yoga class, outnumbered, and the other's existence makes us feel a little bit more safe. And it's this idea, these two words, we both, this statement of unity and similarity that I believe has the power to bring us together. Now, nearly 50 years ago, Robert Kennedy said, we can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past, and we will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness. It is not the end of disorder. Unfortunately, he was very, very accurate with that statement. Just a couple months ago, 3 young Muslims and beautiful souls by all accounts were killed execution style in the Chapel Hill shooting by a white extremist. Eric Garner, who brought about the outcry of I can't breathe, which of course he said as he was being choked to death on the streets by a police officer. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that over the last 40 years, over 325,000 blacks have been killed at the hands of another black. This makes up of 85% of killings among the race. So what is it? What is it that causes us to participate in these violent and irrational acts? Oftentimes it is our differences. Race, age, gender, political affiliation, gang affiliation, sexual orientation, the list could go on and on. When we notice these differences, it is in our nature to evaluate them and react to them. In our defense, it's pre-wired into our brain. Our ancestors did the same thing when they evaluated the impending danger of an attacking animal. Our brain understands that conforming stimuli around us has no power to harm us, so we don't react to it. So for example, you're driving down the street and a car is going next to you. He's going within the confines of the speed limit, so you pay no attention. However, another car may be going 20 miles an hour and coming towards you. This demands your immediate attention and reaction. Now, in this instance, our brain's ability to find the differences in our environment has the power to save us. But what we must understand that when it comes to human interaction, this habit of the brain is not saving us, it's killing us. Now, I want to get back to Robert Kennedy for a second. Robert Kennedy made one of the most powerful we both statements in the history of our nation, I believe. In this story, it actually has its origin right here on Ball State's campus. In 1968, Kennedy had just announced that he was going to run for president. He needed the support of Indiana in the primaries. That morning, he started at Notre Dame and then came here to Muncie. Thousands packed in the ball gym, and he made his speech talking about his platform, much of which had to do with racial justice. When he was taking questions, a young black student stood up, agreeing with a lot that Mr. Kennedy had said, but he also challenged. He said, "In order for this to work, you are placing an awful lot of faith in white America. My question is that faith justified?" Bobby Kennedy answered simply and briefly, yes. Now, as fate would have it, at the same time that this exchange was going on, Martin Luther King was being shot and killed. The day was April 4th, 1968, a very infamous day in our country's history. Kennedy wasn't alerted that Dr. King had been shot until he was boarding the plane at the Muncie airport. His staff described him as sad and distraught and angry. He turned to one of them and said, "To think, I just told that kid that he could trust white America." When the plane landed in Indianapolis, he was told that King did indeed die from the gunshot. It was at this point that the mayor of Indianapolis, Mayor Lugar, the police force, and even Kennedy's staff told him that he should cancel his speech for that night. It was on 17th and Broadway, right in the inner city of Indianapolis. Kennedy refused. And even on the way there, they were stopped by a policeman, and the policeman said, "I can't let you go any further. You're getting deep into the ghetto, and we can't protect you there." Kennedy and his staff informed them that they would continue, and the police could come if they wanted. On that car ride, Kennedy sat quiet, scribbling notes on a piece of paper. His staff writers did the same. When they got to the venue, aware of the danger, Kennedy asked one member of his staff to take his wife back to the hotel. He made his way towards the front of the crowd. One of his speechwriters chased after him with a yellow piece of paper with the notes that he had prepared for his speech. Kennedy refused those as well. He made his way up the steps and onto the stage in front of the microphone, and he could be overheard saying to one of the rally organizers, "Do they know about Martin Luther King?" The answer was that some did, many did not, and that they had left it up to him to tell the crowd. Now, I want to pause for a moment, and I want you to imagine the entirety and the importance of what Kennedy was about to do. There were thousands packed into this park. The front portion of the crowd were mixed, white and black, all strong supporters of Kennedy. They had gotten there early enough that they would not have heard. You have to remember the time is 1968, and news doesn't travel as quickly as it does now. So they had pins and signs, and they were there to hear the senator speak. The second portion of the crowd was primarily black. They were angry. They had gasoline. They had weapons. Their fists were in the air yelling, "Black Power." It was a very, very dangerous situation to be in. In fact, Mayor Lugar told Kennedy that if he wasn't able to calm the crowds, he would have to send in a fire truck. Policemen were already on the roofs with rifles. With all of this in front of him, Bobby Kennedy begins. He informs the crowd that Dr. Martin Luther King was shot and killed. Chants from the back got louder and louder. Those in the front that were totally unaware, they cried and they screamed. As things settled in, Bobby Kennedy continued. He highlighted and commemorated all of the things that Martin Luther King did and stood for. And then what he did next, the "we both" statement that he made, surprised his friends, his family, his staff, and those closest to him. For the first time since 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy, in public, brought up his brother. And this is what he said. He said, "For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust toward the injustice of such an act against all white people, I can only say that I can feel in my own heart these kinds of feelings. I had a member of my family killed, but he was also killed by a white man." These words had a calming and easing effect on the crowd. Now, sure, He would have been justified in saying, look, my brother, John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States, was killed, and you don't see me acting with anger and violence and rage. He could have said that. It would have been true, and it would have been justified. But he didn't. Instead, he reached into his heart, and he reached out his hand, and he said, we both lost someone that we loved. In the aftermath of this, while other cities burned, Chicago and Detroit, Indianapolis remained calm. Kennedy continued in his speech, and he talked about the direction that this country can go in with love and justice and compassion. Now, the question remains, what does this look like in 2015? How do we champion these two words? How do we champion this idea of we both, you and I, looking at our similarities to unite us rather than our differences to divide us? The good news is that with a little bit of effort, it's actually very easy. I'll show you. I'm going to make a few we both statements, and if it applies to you, just simply raise your hand, okay? So first, we both sing in the shower, and on occasion think, maybe I could try out for American Idol. Yeah? I mean, it happens, right? Okay. I'm putting myself out there with this one, but we both cried during the Fault in Our Stars movie. Yeah, a lot of people, right? We have a lot in common there. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. We both presently are in love. Yeah, I've seen a few couples in here. It's great. Another one. We both, deep inside of us, have dreams and goals and aspirations that we don't share with very many people. Yeah. And the last one, and what I'd ask that you do is just keep your hand in the air for a second and look around the room. We both, even when times look bad, still have hope. Keep your hands in the air, please. We have hope in our fingertips. We reach out and we reach up for the embetterment of ourselves, the peace of this country, and the unity of this world. We both want that. We all want that. Thank you.